For the first 3 years of my high school career, I was a member of the track and field team. And on the track and field team, there are various types of athletes. For example, there are the sprinters who try to run a short distance as fast as they possibly can. Meanwhile, there are the distance runners who, while still trying to go fast, have to take into account endurance, so they tend to focus more on endurance and less on the actual speed. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there are the throwers, who tend to focus on more strength work because they have to throw objects, whether it be a discus or a shot put, as far as they possibly can to excel in their events. And all these athletes are completely different, in contrast to a sport like, for example, soccer, where the athletes have similar skill sets. In track and field, the skill set varies drastically from athlete to athlete. And if you were to ask the coaches, who is the best athlete in the team, or which group, what between the throwers, the sprinters, and the distance runners have the best pure athletes out of the entire team, they would say it's like comparing apples to oranges, and that it is impossible to actually compare the different types of groups. But how true is that? Are apples and oranges really that different, or are they more similar than they may appear? Well, on a surface level, apples and oranges may appear different. So let's first look at color. Many people would say apples and oranges have different colors because apples are red, yellow, and green, and oranges are orange. And those are different colors, so it's completely different. However, if you look at it at a deeper level while looking for similarities, you would realize that apples are most commonly red, yellow, and green, and red and yellow are warm colors, and oranges are orange, which is also a warm color. This means that apples and oranges, although they may be different in terms of their color, they do still complement each other, because they are still similar colors, and red and yellow do make orange. So if you were to put them next to each other, they wouldn't clash, but they would actually complement each other. And in that they are similar. Furthermore, when it comes to taste, many would say apples and oranges are different, because, as many would say, apples have a more sweet taste and oranges are more sour. However, if you look at this deeper, there are different types of apples, whether it be Granny Smith apples or a normal Gala apple. And these types of apples vary in their sweetness and sourness, very similarly to how oranges vary in sweetness and sourness, as there are very sweet oranges that are not sour, and there are sour oranges that have little sweetness. And taking this into consideration, apples and oranges do have quite similar flavors, as if you compare sour and sweet oranges to sour and sweet apples, they taste fairly similar in their base flavors. On an even deeper level, if we go into price, many would say that the price has to be different, because apples and oranges are two different fruits, so they go at two different values. However, apples and oranges in 2017 had a very close price, a 1 cent difference actually. Apples were $1.32 per pound, whereas oranges were $1.33 per pound in 2017, which is extremely similar, and a 1 cent difference per pound is minuscule in the grand scheme of things. Furthermore, according to Forbes and the Smithsonian, apples and oranges are not actually different and incomparable, but actually really easy to compare. For example, in terms of weight, many would say that apples and oranges probably are different weights, and they are. However, the difference in weight is very minuscule, as apples are only 17 grams lighter than oranges on average. And 17 grams is not a very large difference. And it's to the point where if you had an apple in one hand and an orange in one hand, and you cannot feel the texture, a lot of people would struggle with which one is heavier and which one is lighter. For example, in physics, they use kilograms most commonly because grams are a very light unit of measurement, so 17 grams do not make a very large difference. Furthermore, when it comes to the caloric content of apples and oranges, many would say they're different foods, so they have to have a different caloric value, right? Well, actually, not really. There is a difference, but it's only 5 calories. Apples on average are 117 calories, whereas oranges are 112 calories. And 5 calories may seem like it's a bit of a difference, but it's really not. If you consider that 2,000 calories is the recommended caloric intake for a person in a day, and at that, many people exceed that with meals from fast food places, oftentimes being 1,000 calories or up to 1,500 calories, it's not that big of a difference. Even in the vaunted vitamin C, or as I like to call it, vitamin citrus, because many people would say you need to get your vitamin C from citrus fruits. They're the best source. Well, you may think that oranges would have doubled the amount of vitamin C of apples, maybe triple, considering how many people say that oranges have a lot more vitamin C than apples. However, the difference is not actually that large compared to what you think it might be. With this being one of the most pronounced differences between apples and oranges, apples have 103 milligrams of vitamin C, and oranges have 124 milligrams, which is a 21 milligram difference, but it's not that large of a difference that it changes everything. Now, you may be wondering, what is the use of comparing apples to oranges, and how will this actually benefit me in any way? Well, here's the thing. In real life, a lot of people treat comparing themselves to others or comparing different objects in the same way they treat comparing apples to oranges. They look at the differences on the surface and they say that because there are some differences, they're not alike at all, and they're incomparable. For example, this goes across gender, race, and class, and also many other areas. If a man were to see a woman, many people, if they were the man, would think that the woman would be very different than the man, because the man is a man and the woman is a woman. And because of that, they must have different experiences, and therefore they're different, and they're not that comparable. However, if you look past the surface, you may actually find some stuff that are very nice that you have in common. For example, if you guys both like magic or video games, or you both like the same sports team, that can be something that you can bond over, and you could actually meet a new person and become friends with them. And maybe that friendship turns into a long-term thing. And you have a relationship with that person. And this is how you form connections. But a lot of people will say that they're too different, and because of that, they don't actually go to find the similarities. Going back to the track and field example, although we were different in what we did in terms of whether throwing or sprinting or long distance running, we did all find similarities, and because of that, we bonded as a team. If we didn't find these similarities, we would never have been able to actually bond as a team, because then we would be different and we wouldn't be able to be compatible with each other, because we wouldn't know each other, we wouldn't be able to relate. But we looked past the differences and we found similarities, and because of that, we were able to succeed in becoming a closer team. And it went through the boundaries of distance runner or sprinter or thrower. For example, I like some video games and the thrower likes some video games, so we bonded over that and we gained a relationship or a friendship. And because of that, we were able to capitalize on the team. The team was able to capitalize. So next time you see apples and oranges, maybe don't immediately go looking for differences, but actually look for the similarities. And maybe through that, you can end up meeting some new people, forming some new connections, and broadening your perspective. Thank you.